Guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships. And today's video, we're going to take a look at a game that I had in the Duguey-Trouin, the Tier 4 French light cruiser. I'm playing with my buddy Puddin, and he's playing in the Arkansas Beta, the Tier 4 Premium American battleship. And we're playing some standard battle here on the map Archipelago. So the French cruisers were just released with patch 0.6.4 a couple days ago, and for our Cruiser Fridays, we wanted to get you guys some of this nice gameplay in these ships. And this is the first game that I played in this one, and it is certainly going to be a doozy. So far with the French cruisers, I've been relatively happy with their performance. At Tier 2, you have the Duguey-Trouin de la Gravière. It has 8 164mm guns, the highest caliber for any cruiser at Tier 2 currently in the game. And it also has a very nice amount of hit points, 20,100. So it's very tanky, and the alpha damage on both the HE and the AP is pretty darn impressive. At Tier 3, you have the Friant, and it's very interesting as well, because it's the only cruiser at Tier 3 that has access to turrets. You have a 4x2 arrangement, 2 at the front, 2 in the rear, 2 guns apiece, with a total of 8 guns. And it also has a very nice torpedo armament. You have 2 triple tube launchers on each side of the ship, so you get a total of 12 torpedoes. And it's also very fast at around 30 knots. And the guns have a range of 12.9 kilometers, so it's a pretty good support cruiser at Tier 3. And basically what you have here with the Duguey-Trouin at Tier 4 is a bunch of quality of life improvements. The most important of which, of course, is in the performance of the guns. These things now have a range of 15 kilometers, so it's a very nice improvement over its predecessor. But also what should be noted, and something that probably doesn't jump right off the bat to the average player, is the shell velocity, 870 meters a second with both the armor piercing and the high explosive. So not only does your AP become more potent at range, but your high explosive and armor piercing will both be able to get to the target much faster. And also there's a hidden stat for each shell, drag, how the air affects it going through as it's continuing on its flight path, and the drag must be reduced by a considerable degree over the Friant, because these shells really do get there. It feels very high-tier Japanese cruiser-esque, like a Zhao or an Ibuki, in its ability to get to the target relatively quickly. Now here at the beginning of the game, I'm moving off to the eastern side of the map, and you can see that the majority of my friendly team is pushing on down to the southwest, and the majority of the enemy team is moving in towards their cap, their objective, and they're on a collision course over there. So I'm just trying to get some cheeky shots in the enemy ships as they're moving off to that side of the map, and of course with the great range on the ship, you're certainly able to do so. Now, one thing that I must mention is that notice the armor-piercing performance on these guns throughout the course of the game, excuse me. When you're shooting at anything that isn't French, that, you know, actually has a citadel that's relatively armored, the armor-piercing shells do pretty good work. Shells falling in on the Friant, and literally just as I say that, I managed to get a citadel at pretty long range on that enemy Friant, but that certainly is a dime in a dozen, and you're going to see some very awkward and strange armor-piercing performance later in this game. So at range, you really do want to shoot high explosive at everything, because it really does penetrate most of the ships that you're playing against. All these ships at these lower tiers have horrible deck armor, and a lot of them have very little bow and stern armor, so you're able to penetrate with high explosive at almost every single angle without the need to use IFHE, although on a ship like this it certainly could come in handy. So each side has lost one cruiser. It's 349 to 349, and again, I'm just trying to get some flanking shots here into these guys. Low tier gameplay, it's a lot more fun than the high tier, simply because the battles are a lot more fast paced, and we're going to have quite a few ships get destroyed here in the next minute or two. And also because there's a lot more aggression here at the lower tiers, because a lot of people really don't know what they're doing. So being able to carry and, quote, SEAL Club, as a lot of people like to call it, is a lot easier. Puddin manages to get a nice kill on the Svetlana, so his first kill of the game, very good stuff. And now I'm getting some more armor piercing here at the Duguey. Now the Duguey is a Tier 4 British light cruiser, and it has a relatively large citadel. And even at this angle, I'm not able to get citadels, which is very surprising considering that Friant, which is very difficult to citadel, sounds very strange, but I wasn't able to get anything on him. And you can see here this Duguey is shrugging off quite a few of my shells. Only one of them over-penetrates and 2 actually break off the side of his belt armor. Yeah, I know, that might be a joke in and of itself. But right here, this is the example that I'm talking about. Very questionable AP performance. I'm looking for some shots here on this pair of Friants that are coming back to try and deal with my buddy in the Friant over there. Friant's everywhere. Holy crap. Looking for some shots here, and there we go. The armor-piercing broadside is out. He is angled in relatively good. I still managed 2,100 damage with 2 penetrating hits, so that was a pretty decent salvo. I did launch my torpedoes. They were widespread. I do sometimes get carried away with the widespread, but certainly that would be a time to use the narrow spread there. But I don't think I was thinking about it at the time when I launched the torpedoes. A decent broadside there on the enemy Friant, and yeah. It's not really getting the citadels. It's not doing the copious amounts of damage which you would be expected to get, because that's what a lot of new players struggle with at the lower tiers. They don't realize that cruiser AP against other cruisers is extremely potent, and it's something that you really do have to learn if you want to become a better cruiser player. So I guess for all the new players out there, take that as a note. You can see here the Friant behind me is getting some good high explosive damage into me, and every single high explosive shell that hits pretty much is going to be a penetrating hit. So not only will you do good damage, but you can also break crap right there. Took out some AA guns and a turret while also setting a fire, so very good stuff. But you can see here I'm taking about 2,000 damage. I load the AP for the broadside. The shells look wonderful, and 2,294 damage. Only 4 of 8 hit, and one of them even managed to ricochet. I have no idea what could have possibly ricocheted off of, but I digress. The damage is relatively mediocre. Again, 4 more overpens, still 2,200 damage, but I was just hoping for them citadels, which did not come. As I'm going behind the island, I get 1 more broadside out. Most of the shells hit the island, trying to get a cheeky bit of damage done before I go behind, and I was not able to do so. So far I've picked up 21,000 points of damage, and I'm continuing to be stubborn, and I'm continuing to shoot the armor piercing at these guys. And I finally realized that it's time to switch to high explosive, because I'm literally doing nothing, and there we go, more overpens. It's very, very annoying, and it gives players a false sense of security, because, again, you're not supposed to be sailing around broadsiding cruisers ever. If there's one ship class that you do never... You're never, ever, ever supposed to do so. It's cruisers, because anything really can get citadels on you, even destroyers at close range on the broadside. So it's very strange to see all these French-like cruisers going broadside. But I know my buddy Puddin is definitely having a field day. I'm pretty sure he's already picked up 2 kills so far in this game, and that's certainly a battleship's wet dream. More armor piercing out at the Friant, and once again, mediocre damage done. 2,800. Looking for more citadels. I do not manage to get it. Launched 2 widespreads at the Isokazi. I figured that he was coming in at me, but he decides to turn away. But I know that he's got 7-kilometer torpedoes, so all I have to do is stay a little bit far away. And you see right there, switch to the high explosive, set a fire. 8 of 8 shells managed to penetrate, do over 3,200 points of damage, so very good stuff right there. And I'm going to try and kite away. And you're going to see the AP damage that I take is, well, that was actually a good salvo from that guy, 2,700. And again, it's just very, very strange. I'm at about half health now, but I'm going to continue to fire high explosive at this guy because I know that I'm guaranteed penning him if I manage to hit. And there we go. I also set a fire that is now unrepairable for this guy, so all I really have to do is get 1 more solid salvo into him, and he is going to be biting the dust here really soon. More shells flying in. There we go. 3 more penetrations. 1452. Decent damage done now. I'm at 35,700, and it looks like I'm going to go for the kill here. More high explosive out. Will I be able to secure it? Yes, I do. First ship destroyed in the game. Up to 37,000 points of damage. That Tier 3 French light cruiser, the Friant, was destroyed. And now I'm turning my attention back to, who would have guessed it, another Friant. I still got the high explosive loaded, and this is going to be my ammunition of choice for the majority of the game. And look at that! Torpedo tubes, a gun, and AA armaments, all taken out with 3 shells that managed to hit. So very, very awesome stuff right there. But you can see here that there's still 1132 left in the game. Our team has lost 6 ships, and the enemy team has lost 5. My buddy Puddin is doing some good work over there as he manages to pick up his 3rd kill of the game on that enemy South Carolina, so he is certainly carrying over there on that side of the map. But what I want to do is make my way back to the other side, because clearly the enemy team is still concentrated over there, and they still have 3 battleships left. There's a Wyoming, a Kaiser, or 2 Kaisers for that matter. So you're going to get to see the Duguay in its natural environment as I'm moving back over there, and I'm going to engage these targets at a lot farther ranges. More shells flying in on the Friant. Will I be able to get the kill? Oh, so close. I lit 2 fires and hit 5 shells and put them on like 100 hit points, but unfortunately my buddy in the Phoenix was able to secure the kill away from me. But nevertheless, very good play by him. We knew what we had to do. Focus fired on that guy and took him out. And Puddin once again at work, making that Phoenix pay on the broadside with more citadels. And that's exactly what happens in every other cruiser at this tier. except for these things. But it's not impossible to get citadels. I have seen battleships, and you will see a citadel from one of the Kaisers later in this replay on me. But it's so rare, it's so hard to predict with any certainty that's why I suppose I'm not struggling in the ship. I'm certainly posting some very good games. I've already had 3 games, including this one, over 100,000 damage. It's very, very powerful in the right hands with the range and the muzzle velocity. But anyway, getting citadels on the ship is just so strange. And I know I've already mentioned it a couple times, but I really do want to hammer home that point. Getting some long-range HE spam here at the Kaiser, and very good stuff. The Isukaze does appear at 7 kilometers away, but I know that I'm well out of his effective torpedo range at this point, so I'm just going to continue on my travels here. And you can see the damage that I'm piling in on that Kaiser. These battleships of this tier don't have very good deck armor, so the plunging fire that you can get is Puddin manages another awesome salvo and picks up a Confederate already. I think it was at 100,000 points of damage by this stage of the game. You can see I'm getting some decent penetrations on those German battleships. So I'm up to almost 46,000 points of damage. Now I'm looking for a cheeky shot here on the Isukaze. He did show himself again. He got a little too close to my South Carolina friend. So I anticipate that he's going to continue straight, but he actually runs into the sinking stern of that French light cruiser. I'm going to follow the shells in here and just a bit outside, unfortunately for me. Now, one thing I also forgot to mention about the ship that is very, very good in terms of the gun performance is the fire chance. It has a healthy 12% fire chance currently with my build. I have Demolition Expert and the 2 flags that increase guns of 155 millimeters in caliber or lower by 0.5% apiece. So this thing is a very good fire starter. And at the beginning of the game, you do really want to sit at range and be able to get shots at enemy battleships. It's, like I said earlier, very similar to the Soviet mid-tier light cruisers. They're very good support ships, sitting in the back and with that HE spam, and it's something that the ship really does well in. And that's why I think that it is one of the stronger cruisers tier for tier in the game, and that might be a bit of a bold claim to make already because the ship has just been released. But this actually got a rate of fire nerf, may I add you. It's rate of fire, it's 12-second reload. That's something very interesting to note because I don't know what the exact number. I think it was like an 8 or a 9-second reload before in the first round of the PTS. And then they decided to tweak with a lot of the rate of fires of the French cruisers up to tier 6. All of them were actually nerfed. And this one certainly felt it very greatly. But I see why they decided to do it, because this thing would be absolutely ridiculous with an 8-second reload. It's 430 to 425. Each team has 5 ships remaining. I'm now looking for a very good long-range shot here on this enemy Phoenix. I managed to judge the shell, or the shot correctly. The shell's pretty good dispersion. Fallen in. My buddy Puddin did shoot at the guy, but I'm going to be able to snag the kill away from him before his shells hit. 3 shells hit, destroying that tier 4 American light cruiser. Pick up my 2nd ship destroyed in the game, and I'm up at about 50,000 points of damage. And now you're going to see this ship in its natural environment. There we go, getting fire number 7 on the Kaiser. And now I'm going to focus on this guy, my buddy Puddin. He's also been getting some good shots into him as well. And I'm just trying to burn it down because my buddy Puddin only has 22,000 hit points remaining, so he does have to be a little bit careful about not giving his broadside and taking a ridiculous salvo from one of them battleships. And at the lower tiers, battleships really do have the power because cruisers are so lightly armored, generally speaking. And since the majority of them still have a good amount of their hit points left, we're going to have to do some work here to be able to take care of business. So we're certainly going to be focus firing here. My buddy Puddin is looking for a shot as he's coming around the island on the Kaiser. And at this point, you can see I am detected. However, no ships are shooting at me. I don't have the indicator priority target, so I'm going to continue to light fires on this Kaiser. And there we go. Very good stuff. He now has 2 fires burning. And at some point, he's going to have to use his repair party. He is using his damage control to get it back. But again, he will run out of that sometime. And there we go. More solid damage. 4 of the 6 shells that hit managed to penetrate. Very good stuff right there. I do take a couple of shells there from, it appears, the enemy Wyoming, but I'm still, I have a decent bit of hit points left with about 13,000. And there we go. More and more fire set on that guy. Very good stuff. He's back to 2 fires burning. My buddy Puddin is now coming around the corner, and it appears he's going to get ready for his broadside. There we go. Shells are out, and he manages to do about 8,000 points of damage, so very good stuff there. The Kaiser, however, is deciding to make a huge mistake here, and he is not shooting at me. And this is going to come back to bite the enemy team in the rear end later in the game. Still trying to get more fire set. I know that he's used his repair now. It's 397 to 492. It's 3 versus 4 at the situation. We still have a more or less full health Phoenix that is on the other side of the map, but at this point, it's basically a 2 versus 4. As I managed to get yet another fire on the enemy Kaiser. He's now at 9,600 hit points. My buddy Puddin manages to take a decent chunk out of that Wyoming over there, about 4K. More shells flying in on the target. Will I be able to get another fire? Yes, indeed I do. And again, this is why this ship is extremely powerful in its current state. I'm going to continue to fire at the Kaiser. My buddy Puddin now wanted me to switch focus to the Wyoming, so I'm now turning my turrets. You don't see it on the replay because for whatever reason, whichever way the camera is pointed, the turrets turn that way. So if I'm still looking to the left, but my turrets are turning to the right, it won't actually show that. So that's where you get those weird instances of the turrets actually shooting the guns when they're not actually lined up on screen. I managed to pick up the Arsonist on the enemy Kaiser. There we go. Picking up my 3rd kill of the game and already up now to 81,000 points of damage. So a very nice spike right there and very good stuff. And I light another fire there on the Wyoming. And like I said, this fire chance is fantastic. And this is a trait that pretty much all of the French cruisers have. They're very good fire starters. And yeah, very good stuff. And there we go, another fire set. We're up to 13 fires now. So my buddy Puddin gets a nice salvo there on the Wyoming, chucking him down yet again. Picks up the high caliber. He's well over 100,000 at this point. And again, you can see here the high explosive is still doing the trick. So be very careful with your AP usage because the high explosive is just so dastardly in this ship. My buddy in the Phoenix is moving back, and he is back at the base, and he's now getting ready to deal with the enemy Isakazi. But another thing about the ship, did you notice how fast it was able to slow down? That Wyoming's salvo goes harmlessly off my starboard side. He well misjudged that. And as he goes behind the island, I'm now getting ready to shoot here at the enemy Isakazi, but my buddy Puddin was also quite aware of him as well. Shells are falling in on the guy, and right as my shells manage to hit, so does the Phoenix, or excuse me, my buddy Puddin didn't shoot. The Phoenix and I are able to double tap that guy as I pick up a solid Confederate, and then the Phoenix puts him on 45 hit points. My shells just barely managed to miss off his starboard side, but he's going to be able to take care of that Japanese destroyer. So now there's only 2 enemy ships remaining, 2 battleships. I do get my Hydra up because I wasn't sure if he decided to shoot his torpedoes at me, and I do take a pretty decent chunk there from the enemy Wyoming. So I'm now down to 6,300 hit points, but the majority of the shells that did hit me did manage to over-penetrate. I think I took 1, and I managed to get a double fire on that guy, so now his repair is out, and he is certainly going to be burning as I'm about to crack the 100,000 damage mark here in this ship, as I'm now continuing to turn to port, trying to angle away from this Wyoming, although little do I know this is actually a very bad decision. Oh, I only take 1 shell on the side for about 1,400 damage, so I'm very, very lucky right there not to get deleted. Again, you do not want to angle away because it presents the opportunity for those shells to go completely through the ship. Up to 105,000 points of damage now. The 2 fires are still raging on that Wyoming. Will I be able to snag the kill? We'll see here in a couple of seconds. Now getting some shots over the island at the enemy Kaiser. He's on 291 hit points, and the Phoenix manages to take care of business. And again, going to continue to fire here at the Kaiser. Up to 16 fires set. Very awesome stuff here. Full broadside out now on the enemy Kaiser. Unfortunately, our Phoenix dies, so now it's just me and Puddin to deal with this enemy German dreadnought. Managed to light fire number 17 of the game. Very good stuff here, and now I'm just continuing to try and move around. I'm almost at full speed, and this Kaiser managed to use his repair. So now, in a couple seconds, the next time that I get a fire, it's going to stick. My buddy Puddin is still recovering a bit of his hit points. He's at 11,600. He's still alive, still kicking it, doing good. And once again, I'm able to slow down and change my course very abruptly and throw his aim off. So very good stuff. Managed to light a fire on the bow of the Kaiser. So if I could get a second fire, this would all but spell the end for this guy. And now I'm going to make a very bold play here, and I'm going to turn hard to starboard, and I'm going to try to get angled in yet again. Unfortunately, though, he does manage to get his 2 rear turrets off as I'm broadside, but you're broadside. It doesn't matter. All 3 of them managed to over-penetrate. More shells flying in and more over-penetrations. Awesome stuff right there as I get that second fire that I need there on the Kaiser. And as my next salvo is on the way, Puddin's salvo is going to come in and take care of business as he picks up the Kraken. What a game here in the Duguey-Trouin. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 218,000 credits received and 3,209 total XP. I pick up a Confederate, High Caliber, and Arsonist. 125,000 points of damage done. A very solid game in any cruiser, quite honestly. Even tier 10s 125,000 damage is a very solid performance. So to do it in this thing feels pretty absurd. 1 Citadel and 19 fires set off of 229 target hits and 3 enemy ships sent packing. Taking a look at the team score, my buddy Puddin managed to get the Kraken right at the end of the game. So we had 8 of our team's 12 kills, 1,380 base XP for me, and 1,340 for him. So I hope you guys enjoyed this gameplay. Please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, maybe giving the channel a subscription. All of it is much appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed this lower tier gameplay. And if you'd like to see more of this, lower tier gameplay, please let us know in the comments below for future videos. With that all being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Guys and gals, have a great day.